What's Gucci, y'all? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing. I'm going over an update yet again on my True King, True Draco Spellbook Invoke deck. It's really savage, and I went undefeated again today. It's like just not been letting me down whatsoever. It's so consistent and reliable. It's just the deck, when I'm in tight positions, it's always found some way to come through on top. Today I played a little bit of everything. I played Trickstar's Spiral. I also played against Cosmos, believe it or not. I played against True Draco ABCs and also played against, what was it? Yes, that's right, Light Swarms. I played against Light Swarms and it was real dope. This dude, like, on his first turn had 2 Firewalls, 2 Proxies, 1 Trigate, and he had double JD in hand. And he had the Light Swarms engraved to do so, and he still had 2 Snows worth of graveyard cards. He had like 16 cards engraved after all of that. Snowed, like, this dude went off. But yeah, I actually 2-0'd every single one of the people that I played. I took not even a single loss, not even like a relative, you know, how it's like game 3. I never went to game 3 once, not once, and it was real dope. I really enjoy the way this deck functions, how consistent it is, and how it's basically a hard counter to virtually anything. This deck really has no bad matchups, and I like that. It's able to kind of combat wherever there's a weakness for the Draco aspect, the Invoke makes up for that, and vice versa. Wherever there's a weakness for Invoke, Masterpiece fixes that. And you have hand traps for, you know, extra protection, strike, stuff like that. I really love this deck. It's a deck I'm playing, and it's been my meta deck for quite some time. Without further ado, let's hop into the main deck. So we're playing 2 copies of Masterpiece. I have broken boards with this card. The boards that are supposed to be unbreakable, Masterpieces just pick them apart like freaking cotton candy. This monster did not get outed a single time today. I was just able to protect the castle so well with him and Macabre and hand traps, strikes, keeping him from being attacked over with Apocalypse, pop Heritage, pop this, half. Now you can't attack over Masterpiece. This card just performed so well today. I'm extremely satisfied with the 2 Masterpiece. It's amazing. 3 is definitely too much for my build, even though it's always nice to open up with 1. It's just the offset chance that you can open up with 2 that really hurts. Because I mean, kind of like with this deck, if you open up with multiples of any card that's not Diagram or Terraforming, it's kind of bad because you need like a lot of different reactive cards to kind of set yourself up. And also the way I play this deck is like, I want to basically keep account of every card in my opponent's hand and see if I can take as many resources from him as possible. Then I play the 1 obligatory Marianne. I started off playing 3 of this card, but slowly but surely adding in more and more hand traps. I had to cut cards, and this was one of the cards I cut twice. Once to 2, and then finally down to 1. I felt like I still needed to play it no matter what, and I really wish I could play more because it's such a great card. But it lets you make your Masterpiece with relative ease and the way that you want it sometimes. She's amazing, and she also allows me to make Calamities, which I feel like Calamities is a blowout in the Spiral matchup. And then we're playing 3 copies of Mr. Crowley. 2 of them are the same language. I think 2 are Italian and 1's German. But 3 Crowleys this time. In the previous build, I was running 2, so that's another thing that's changed. Every time you see this deck, it goes through a minor change. The main deck has changed, and so has the side deck. The side deck has changed big time. But yeah, in the previous build, I was playing 2 of him and 2 of his field spell. I decided to cut 1 of the Magical Meltdown and just play 3 of the actual card. Because I was realizing in so many different games, even when I was winning, I was like, if I just had that extra Alistair just for the damage push and damage stab, or just to have it at the offset chance that 1 gets striked, it's just really useful. And I also play the 1 Blue Boy. Blue Boy is just amazing. I was drawing this card like crazy. And he's also my main deck way to make my invoked Cocytus, who is a very powerful boss monster that Spirals really cannot out except with Warlow Dragon. And once they do their combo, their resources are so low they can rarely ever go into anything else. Then we play for hand traps 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. I guess I'll move these up a little bit, just a tad bit. Also, yeah, 3 Ash Blossom. Arguably the best hand trap in the format. In my opinion, right now, my favorite hand trap has been Gamma by far. Gamma helped me out so much today. I kind of like Gamma for game twice. Not literally like my opponent's Scoop, but the Gamma got me so far ahead after making the Omega that it was just all downhill from there. And then having my own hand traps to cut people's play shorts really helped. I like that my deck can main deck like all the hand traps too because I play the Invoked engine, and then Trickstars can't really do it because they need their normal summon just to do plays. Then we played 3 copies of Joel and Lockbird. I said the Joel and Lockbird, Ghost Ogre, and Snow Rabbit. I drew this card like probably twice the entire day throughout the entire tournament. And I only resolved it, I think, one time against Minerva just to clear the Minerva so I wouldn't have to deal with it because he couldn't use both effects in one turn. I think the second time I used it was on Diagram, and you know, it kind of got me there. But even so, every time I draw this card, it always like gets me so far, and at the same time, it gets rid of cards that I really don't want to deal with head on. Whereas, you know, Ash can stop Diagram for a turn, but you still have to deal with it. And, you know, Ash can negate Minerva's effect for a turn, but you still have to deal with her. And having Ogre over the Ash on the Diagram and the Minerva definitely just got rid of the problem altogether. So I like Ogre a lot. There are a lot of other applications outside of those matchups, especially like Pendulum Magicians, where that continuous trap is such a thorn in your side. Ogre definitely deals with the problem head on so that they cannot pop your cards or send your cards to grave. You just Ogre their trap. Because when they flip it and activate it, you can, like, you know, once they activate it, it's active. And then once they try to use this effect, you can Ogre it. And that's how Ogre works on spells and traps. She's really nice. Then, of course, we're playing 3 copies of Gamma. Gamma is probably my favorite hand trap at the moment. He has put in so much work. Outside of normal summoning Alistair, you have so many different ways to bait out the Ash, the Ogre, and even the Droll, or even their own Gamma. It just depends. Like, if you do Diagram to pop Mariamne, you have 2 different outlets where your opponent can either Ash the Diagram or let it go off, and they realize the card you popped off Diagram was this, and they're like, nah, Gamma, because that's going to search the, you know, Masterpiece, and you're like chain Gamma to your Gamma, which is really dope. But for the most part, I just Gammaed a lot of Ashes. I Gammaed Droll, and I also Gammaed Ogre. And it basically was because I have so many different ways to get into my plays before I normal summon. Like, I Gammaed off of Secrets 3 times. Terraforming was good Gamma bait. And I actually played my Diagram preemptively, trying to force the hand trap out because I had Gamma in hand. And I had Alistair, and I was like, before I normal summon this Alistair, I need to get that Ash out the way. And I baited out the Ash and just negated it with Gamma. Gamma was just such a skillful card today. I would never, ever cut it. I'm just going to keep playing it. And then the obligatory 3 Joel and Lockbird. Joel and Lockbird is more or less for when you're going second. When you draw this card going first, it's not very good, but there actually are a few times when I use the Spellbook of Knowledge to send it off to draw 2, because I really don't normal summon outside of Alistair and perhaps Blue Boy. I always drop Masterpiece on my opponent's main phase, so like if I have no other normal summon, I might as well, you know, get the maximum value out of the card. Even though I could just draw and stall my opponent for 1 turn, I feel like I would get more value out of it just using it to draw 2, getting myself far ahead instead of trying to slow my opponent down by 1 turn. So you play basically 3, 6, 9, 12 hand traps, 13 hand traps in the form of the Maxi as the 13th hand trap. Obviously, Maxi is the best card in just the entire deck. And of course, the driver that you have to play, driver does help punching for damage. Like when you're going second and you resolve Gamma, I play another target that lets me like push for damage, which is Scarlight, Red Dragon, Archfiend. And sometimes the 2500 actually comes up where you're like beat over with 25 and then beat over with Gamma for 1000. It just helps you to push for damage when you're playing in time, which helped me out a lot. And that will sum up the monster count. Would I change anything? No, not right now. I've changed so much that I feel like I'm at a point where it's just I need to keep playtesting and definitely get more comfortable and master it and learn from every mistake and learn how to make the best out of every single hand and manage my resources to the best of my abilities. For spells, 3 double Ds, 1 copy of Magical Meltdown, 3 copies of Optimus Prime because it's just so amazing. So I guess we'll keep the field spells here. But yeah, I used to have 5 targets for the Terraformings. Now I only have 4. Because like I said, I feel like the 3rd Alistair would be a lot more important. And although one could just play 2 Meltdown and 3 Alistair, I feel like that's a little bit overkill because drawing 2 of the same card really it really hurts in this deck. And then 2 copies of Secrets, 2 copies of Knowledge. Because it's amazing. If you don't play the ulti Terraformings or the ulti Secrets or the ulti Maxi or the ulti Blue Boy or the ulti Ogres, you're never going to draw them. And it's a very, very true statement. 1 copy of Heritage, 1 copy of Disciples. Most people play these at more. I don't play Ignis Heat or Majesty Maiden, so there's really no extensive use for these cards in my deck. I mainly use them to A, make Masterpiece unaffected by spells, or B, use their actual effects after I've set myself up. You can't play Heritage by itself and do something. You need to either have cards already sent from the field to the graveyard that turn, or you know, have like a way to tribute it from Masterpiece, or just pop it with Diagram. So these cards to me are like Garnets. Even Knowledge, like Knowledge does nothing by itself. So, you know, if you get what I'm saying, these cards without the specific setup, like without loading your grave with targets or sending from field to grave, they do nothing on activation. And if you have no Diagram or Masterpiece, they really are just bricks. So I play them at 1 to minimize on that potential brick that they would do. They basically would do that to my hand. The 1 Invocation, 1 has just done justice. I don't know why. Like 1 just keeps working out for me, and now I play Omega. So if my opponent ever Cosmic Cyclones my Invocation when I activate it to you know, banish Alistair, I can always put it back into the graveyard with Cypher and Little Omega. And I play 3 Alistairs. Sometimes 1's banished and 1 is engraved. So you have a lot of ways to basically fix the problem where you would be like, oh, you know, my 1 Invocation's gone, and then you're like, nah, I'm just gonna use Omega to put it back. And then of course the 1 Raigeki, I was main decking Dark Hole as well, but I wanted to cut my deck to be smaller. So that sums it up for the spells. Pretty much all your spells are good, I guess, except for the Heritage and Disciples if you draw them by themselves, and the Invocation. But for the most part, you draw them at the right time, which I'm very happy about. And then the traps, we're playing 3 evenly matched. This card performed very well for me today. It was a blowout in the Spiral matchup, in the Trickstar matchup, believe it or not, in the Pendulum, I said Pendulum, in the Lightsworn matchup. It was amazing. It wasn't that good against the True Draco in the True Draco ABC deck, but it did help me because he preemptively tagged out on standby with his Buster. So I banished all of his pieces and he kept his Masterpiece, but he lost his Diagram. And I baited out Masterpiece and then attacked over it with Makaba, which is really nice. So I basically outed his Buster and his Masterpiece in 1 turn. And it was really dope. Like what ended up happening, I already had evenly matched. Like I already had it set, and what I ended up doing was when he tagged out with his Buster and he did that, I proceeded to I activated my Meltdown and he popped it with Masterpiece, and I still had Alistair anyway, so I normal Alistair, I made Makaba, and I ended up declaring an attack. How did I do it again? No, it was the other way around. I'm sorry. I'm thinking what I did in 2 turns in 1 turn. I did it 2 separate turns. I'm sorry. I had evenly matched. That's what I did. I'm trying to remember exactly how I did it, but I evenly matched him when he tagged out, and then I banished all his pieces. I made Makaba after baiting out Masterpiece. Then I proceeded to pass, and he kept everything. He banished everything except Masterpiece. Then I attacked over his Masterpiece next turn. I'm sorry, y'all. Like that, I kind of like confused myself and probably the viewers. But yeah, I basically did it in 2 turns. Nonetheless, long story short, evenly matched really did help me out today a lot more than it has in the past. In the past, it's kind of just been like, it's good, but it's not good enough. But today was amazing, and I really would never cut the card from the main deck. My deck is built for going first and or going second if I choose so. So if I blind second or lose the dice roll, I'm not going to lose the game because of that, and I like that. Versatility matters for me. Please forgive me what I stated about that. Basically, the True Draco ABC matchup, I took care of his board in 2 turns and not 1. I don't know why I was like thinking like everything happened all at once, but it did not. 3 copies of Solemn Strike. I cut the warning and put it into the side deck just so that I can make room and make the deck smaller. So I actually just cut Dark Hole and cut Solemn Warning all together to make my deck smaller because it's not a 40 card deck, and that was one of the main things. I was like, how small can I get it to be without actually, you know, losing a lot of great cards that I like. Then 2 Apocalypse and 1 Return. Apocalypse overperformed more than it's ever done in the past. Return has always been the best one to me because I play the True King, and it's really nice to either, you know, summon it on end phase on your opponent's to pop a Diagram on your opponent's end phase, then pop a Diagram on your turn, or just summon it on your opponent's end phase and then, you know, make calamities by overlaying Invoke Makaba and the level 9 True King that you summon off return on your opponent's end phase to make your calamities, which is really dope. So yeah, that's pretty much going to sum up the 9 traps, and that sums up for the main deck. Then for the extra deck, we play 1 Chlamydia, 1 Syphilis, 3 Medieval Mikey. Medieval Mikey is just amazing. He's the most gone into fusion. I have more main deck targets and attributes for him than I do anything else. 2 Raijin. I did not get the chance to make him today. I actually wanted to. There have been a few times actually when like Spiral players kind of like sometimes start off with the field spell, but at those times when they don't start off with the field spell, this card's pretty broke. Because like they'll try to do something like Tough or Agent, and then they like play the field spell, right? And you chain to the field spell's activation and book that spiral monster, because you can chain to activation of the field spell, and at that point they have a face down spiral that they cannot, you know, link summon with for double helix. And that it only comes up when they don't play the field spell first, but that's just something, you know, food for thought that you actually can do with Raijin. So he's kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie, he's one of my favorite cards. And Book of Mooning Licorice really does matter, because once she's face down, she can't burn the crap out of you. Kaliga, not only to skill drain, but to make my rank 4, which is Baguska. Kakaitis, because he's so difficult to out. He's just like almost like Masterpiece in certain matchups where like the deck just can't get over him. And then Purgatrio, I Purgatrioed the Trickstar player because he activated Scapegoat. I popped his Scapegoat with Masterpiece and he chained it. And then I just normal summoned Alistair and made Purgatrio by banishing his Ash Blossom that I actually had Gammaed earlier on in the game. And Purgatrio attacked all 4 of his tokens. And Purgatrio also came up with the clutch in the ABC matchup when he tagged out in game 2. And that's when first game, I pretty much demolished him in 2 turns. Second game, I literally just OTK'd him going second. He opened up Buster. I sided in Cherries, never drew him. And then I just Purgatrio attacked all 3 of his pieces. But I damage step, dropped 2 Alistairs. And he gained 2,000 in addition to all the cards my opponent controlled. And I just went attack C, attack B, attack A. I was like thinking he's going to activate C to special from hand. I was going to attack that too, but he died after that. It didn't even matter. So Purgatrio was just so good. He's just one of the, I guess you could say, sleeper cards of the Invoke engine. He's one of the cards that can get you game no matter what deck you're playing against. Omega went into him a lot. Scarlight didn't make him today at all, but he's one of my my cards to get me out of really tight situations for my Gamma. I could play a second target. A better second target, but I feel like Scarlight's perfect for going second. And then Buster, Helix, and Totally Awesome for my Cherries targets. I feel like I have such a good BA matchup that Dante just wouldn't make sense because I play Invoke. I can always banish the Dante or whatever I feel is relevant from the graveyard, which is real nice. So I have a way of banishing Dantes, you know, after they get summoned so they can't get them back. Then I side deck 3 Raw Spear Mode. I've been side decking this card for almost 2 years now. 2 Kaijus in the form of Sticky String and Gamma Seal, 1 Dark Hole, 3 Winter Cherries for the Cherries targets, of course, that I actually play in the main extra deck. And then 3 Anti-Spells. I side deck this almost every single game when I was going first. And also, if I'm going first, I side deck the Double Scolding and the Warning. Scolding is not for evenly matched because my deck doesn't lose to that card whatsoever. I normally control like 1 boss monster. But it's actually just to negate anything. Because relatively, when I open up, these traps get activated. They're face up now. And evenly match always gets kept in my hand. So the only traps that I actually set, surprisingly, are just the strikes. And if I have strike and scolding, I can always activate strike first and then scolding afterwards. And it pretty much gets you game. Because you can have like strike, scolding, Macabre, and Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. You've got game, basically. Or like when I opened up with Macabre, Masterpiece, strike, and scolding, it was just like, dude, I don't even need this Ash Blossom in hand. That pretty much sums up the deck profile. Let me know what you guys think. This is a tad bit more in-depth than normal. God bless you guys. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. I do hope that you enjoyed this deck profile. Definitely let me know. Give your honest opinion and feedback on what you think of the deck. And if you ever want to see it in action, just check out some of the duels I have on the channel with it. But with that said, I'm going to go ahead and sign out because we have an amazing deck to showcase next. Peace.